Hi guys, and welcome back to this tutorial. So in the previous section, what we have managed to do, I'm going to clear that for now, is that we have managed to basically display the score and display the score for the first scene. So we need to do two things now. First, and suppose, is to display the score in the second scene, and then to be able to keep the score from the second to the first, from the first to the second scene. Now, there was an error message here in a few seconds ago, and I assume it's because if you look at our code, there, you can see that we are trying to update the score quite often in our script. But remember, this script is actually used in scene 1 and scene 2. So basically what we do in this function is we are looking for an object called UI score. Now this object is present in the first scene, which is level 1. You can see it, I'm going to save that, which is level 1, right here, okay? But the problem is that in the level 2 there is actually no UI score object. So we're going to create this object right now to start with. So again, go to game object, UI, and text, and again we're going to call that UI score. Okay, and again in UI score, again this is the text right there. So I'm going to move it to the top. That's it. And again, I can't even remember the settings for the previous one, but what we could do is make sure that the text, the font is maybe 20. It's actually aligned. Now I'm going to zoom in a small bit just to see what's in it. Yeah, perfect. So again, I could even use 50 for the text. Perfect. And again, it's going to be something like score, and that's it. All right. So again, this is working. I can change it as well so that the color is white. Perfect. And once this is done, again, if I save my scene, so save that, and go back to level 1 and play my scene, you should see that the score again will be increased and should be displayed again. No, so it will be back to 0. But anyway, right now it will be 1, 2, sorry, 2. So click again here, 2, and 3 whenever I collect another box, right? So again, I'm going to collect another box. So the score is 2, and it went to 3, but then it's back to 0. So you can see it has been reset between those scenes, and we just don't want this to happen. So to solve this problem, we will introduce the concept of player preferences. So let me show you quickly how it works. Let's look at our script. So here we have a value called a variable called score equals to 0, which is fine. What we'd like really is that every time we actually update the user interface, we update a global variable that will be used for the score. Okay. So again, what we'll do is at the start of the scene, instead of setting this value to 0, we're going to set it to the PlayerPrefs. So PlayerPref.get int, and then the global variable will be called score. So it's a variable that will be accessible throughout the game, so across the different scenes. So I'm going to do that. Now by default, because that's the first time we will be using it here, it's going to be 0 again, so I'm going to leave it there. And that's it. And whenever I want to update the user interface, I will also update the value of this variable. So again, pref.set int, and again score with the actual score. All right, so that's it. So it just means that basically at the start of this scene, even at the very start, so the very first scene, the score will be 0. It will be increased several times, and again, every time it's increased. So again, as you can see, for instance, here it's increased. I'm going to call the function called update score UI. So effectively, in fact, what I could have done, no, that's correct. I'm gonna set this variable here and again update now. Do I need to update it there? Maybe not, because it just set with the value in the player prefs anyway, so there is no need there. However, every time I increase its value, which is basically here, right there, I just need to make sure that I update the value of the global variable as well. Okay, so again, I'm going to save this and go back to Unity. and see if it's working. So previously, the first level I was reaching a score of 3, but then in the second level, this score was put back to 0. So hopefully, this time, if I stay in level 1 and play the scene, even if I reach a score of 3, this score should be saved whenever I open the brand new scene. So again, I'm going to again collect 1. Oops. Hmm. Oh yes, I think I'm not sure what's going on there. Um, okay, so okay. So for now, let's try with 0, okay, just for the first scene, and then again, what I will do is update. Oh no, hang on a second there. I'm gonna leave that there, but again, what I will do instead is, because this script is used between two scenes, if you remember, I had a script called manage buttons, and what I'd like to do really is when I load the very first scene, which is even loading the instruction scene, I just want to make sure that my score set int is set to 0, and now we should be okay. So again, it's going to be score, and again set to 0. Okay, so I'm going to save that. So what I'm doing is at the very first screen, so one of the first screen, which is the instruction screen, I will make sure that my score is actually 0. And then when I get to collect objects, my score will be taken from the actual player preferences. That should still be 0. Okay, well, the first time, and then obviously if I increase the value over time, and I've not restarted the game, basically it will be kept across scene. Okay, so I'm going to save this, and again let this compile and play my scene. So play. So again, it should display my score in a few seconds. Okay, so my score is displayed here. So okay. So before this can work, actually there are a few things that I need to do. Because there are a few things that we need to do. So the first thing is I will need to start the game from the very first thing, which is the splash screen, because in my code, if you remember well, I'm setting this score to 0 in the script that is called load instruction. So again, I need to go back to my first scene so that this code is called, and so that basically my score is set to 0. That's the very first thing. The second thing as well is that for the script called collect object, what I also need to do is to make sure that I need to make sure that whenever a scene is open, that I update the actual user interface. Otherwise, basically, we won't see the score straight away. So again, or until we actually collect an item. So again, I'm going to save that, right? And with this now, that should work a little bit better. So again, I'm going to go back to Unity, let this code compile, and open this time the actual splash screen, because otherwise we won't be able to save or to initialize the value of the global variable called score. So again, the splash screen is there, so I'm going to double click on it and play my scene. So once this is done, what you should see is that the first thing is obviously you will be presented with the button and the title. So again, start game. Again, that's the instruction screen. So start. Okay, so now the score is displayed in the top right corner. You can see that. I'm going to collect a few boxes. 1, 2, okay, and the third one. So you won't see the score of 3 because it goes straight away to the next scene. But again, if I go on it, that's it, it's going to go to the next scene. And now we can see that we are in the last scene, and now you can see the score is 3. So we have successfully managed to display the score in both scenes and to keep the score between scenes as well. Okay, so something to keep in mind, and also something to keep in mind as well, you will need to initialize the score before the game starts. So again, I've done it in the function here called load instructions, and again so that this score is set back to 0 whenever you restart. Alright, so again, it's an interesting feature, and you can use player preferences to set information, to save information across your scenes in the form of integers, boolean, and also strings. So again, it gives you a few possibilities in order to save information. It could be the name of the player, it could be any other information. And again, to set it, you have to put the name of the variable first and its value just after. And to get it, it's going to be get int or get string, for instance.